Armenian Community School. My name is Marshall Neshigi. I'm the chairman of the Board of Education here at the school. And on behalf of the entire board and our principal, I'd like to welcome you here this evening. I'd also like to welcome our co-sponsors for tonight's evening, California State University Fresno Armenian Studies Program, Armenian Technology Group, Armenian General Benevolent Union, and the Armenian Relief Society Sofia chapter. Tonight's presentation should prove to be very interesting and very informative. Certainly discussing a topic that is very relevant and very real, and that is, of course, landmines in Artsakh. When I first heard about tonight's lecture, I recalled my first trip to Artsakh back in 1997. I went there basically by myself, and while I was there, a family took me in, and they wanted me to stay with them for a couple days, and so I couldn't really say no to that. They also said that they were going to be going out to the countryside to visit family members. And I couldn't say no to that either, but believe me, I wanted to because I know that there's landmines out in the countryside. And sure enough, we were out there, probably in the middle of nowhere. If you know Karabagh, Artsakh, east of Stefana here and to the north of it. And we were in the middle of nowhere. And two of the younger men of our group decided to take me on a walking tour of the area. And we were in a kind of a narrow valley. And as we were walking along a dry river bottom, and as I looked up ahead into the valley, you could see one of those large metal cables stretched across the valley, which was used, of course, during the war to try and snag Israeli helicopters. But as we were walking along the river bottom, I made certain to follow the men in front of me step for step. I watched their feet every step they took. I didn't deviate 1 inch to the left or to the right, to the front or to the back, because frankly, I didn't want to have my legs blown off. And I was leaving the next day, but those guys that were with me and their families, they weren't going anywhere. They lived there. And thousands of other families weren't going anywhere. They were living there. And they had to deal with that on a regular basis. And for a country like Artsakh to be a free and independent and legitimate country, yet a good chunk of the population has to worry about taking a step and having their legs blown off, that's a problem. It's not fair, it's not right, but certainly, fortunately, there are organizations out there that are doing something about it. One of those organizations, of course, is the Halo Trust, and with us this evening is Galina Danilova. She'll be speaking in just a few minutes. Kind of as a side note, my mom and dad are going to Armenia and Artsakh tomorrow. Watch your step. Galina, hang tight for just 1 second. I believe Barlo Dermagardichin of the Armenian Studies Program has a few words. Barlo, you want to come on up?
Sure. Thank you, Marshall, and good evening, everyone. On behalf of the Armenian Studies Program, I'd also like to welcome you. He mentioned all of our co-sponsors, and in particular, I'd like to thank the Armenian Community School for opening up their auditorium, Principal Zar Dermagardichin. And also, I'd like to thank especially Serbini Musurlian, who is really the person behind tonight's event in the sense that she helped to organize it. She's been hosting our guests and really been involved with that. So I want to thank Serbini for It's also appropriate that we have a special guest tonight, Andreas Borges, who is the supervisor for County District Number 2. And I say that we're very happy to have him here because a few months ago he was instrumental in passing a resolution in front of the Board of Supervisors recognizing Artsakh's independence and Karabagh's independence. And I think tonight, as we're talking about the importance of Karabagh, that is very much ties in. So thank you for being here. On the screen you see the Halo Trust, and the first thing I kind of was asking was, what does that actually mean? And I found out by doing a little bit of research. It means Hazardous Area Life Support Organization. And Halo is a non-profit organization. And as you came in today on the table, you saw some of their materials. I'm not going to go through all of them, but it's important that you know that their purpose, what they are going to do and what Galina Danilova is going to speak about, is something that is critically important to the future of Karabagh and to Armenia. And they have their information about their demining program and what they're doing. And I think it's quite interesting that, you talk about where do your donations go when you make a donation to a nonprofit. 96.2% of the money that you donate to this organization goes directly to its purpose. So it has an overhead of only 3.8%, which is a very low percentage. So I think, as we'll see tonight, this is a very worthy cause to support. I wanted to also introduce the three people that are here, the two people along with our main speaker. We have from San Francisco, Amy Curran, and she's from the San Francisco office of the Halo Trust in charge of development. Why don't you just stand up so people see it? And because the Halo Trust doesn't spend a lot of money on publicity and overhead, they depend on volunteer work. And in Los Angeles, Eugenie Samis is the volunteer from Los Angeles. Eugenie? So today we're here to talk about a very serious subject, and the subject is war and what happens after a war. We think that after the war, all of the casualties end. But in this case, we're talking about an area, Karabagh, which was heavily mined after the war of 1989 to 1994. Marshall mentioned his experience in Karabagh, and I had the opportunity to visit there in July of 1994, which was 2 months after the ceasefire. And I saw the damage and the destruction that occurred in Stepanakert, in Lachin, and in various regions of Karabagh. These mines are still hurting people. More than 300 civilians have been injured in the past few years from the mines, and it cripples the economy because they're unable to work the land. I'm not going to say more because our speaker will talk more about this. Gala Danilova is born to an Armenian family in Baku, Azerbaijan, and in 1988 her family moved to Nagorno-Karabakh because of the war which had broken out between Karabakh and Azerbaijan. She joined the Halo Trust in September of 2002 as a mine risk education coordinator, and she has now been given responsibility for logistics and statistics in Halo's Nagorno-Karabakh office. She's a graduate of the Mesrop Mashtots University in Stepanakert, that's the capital of Karabakh, where she studied history and international relations. It's my pleasure to introduce to you, ladies and gentlemen, Galina Danilova. Galina?
Thank you very much. Good evening. It's my pleasure to be here tonight and be head speaker for this event, and especially discuss such an important topic for me, being a human being and living in Artsakh, and being the person who's seen the war by my own eyes, and talking about the mines which still cause a danger to the population in Karabagh. First of all, I would like to thank you everyone who organized this event, and you as well that you came for participation. And a special thank you to Serpohiv, thank you very much for hosting us, and Eugenie, thank you very much for bringing us here. So, as was mentioned, we're going to talk about the mines, the landmines and the exploded ordnance in Artsakh. Unfortunately, almost 20 years passed from the war, but we in Karabakh still say that the war is not ended because of the landmines and exploded ordnance. And that's completely different war, and we call it hidden war, which you cannot see, it's not obvious, but it still cause a danger to you. So what is a Halo Trust? As was mentioned, Halo Trust stands for Hazardous Area Life Support Organization. The Halo Trust was founded in 1988, and the main aim was to do mine clearance in the post-conflict zone. The director of the Halo Trust is Guy Willoughby, and the headquarters is situated in the southern part of Scotland. Today, Halo Trust has over 8,000 national staff around the world, which is run by 35 foreigners who are assigned from the headquarters. They are like program managers. And Halo started their activities in 2000 in Nagorno-Karabakh. So why Halo is in Nagorno-Karabakh? Karabakh always had a very difficult history in the past, as all the other Armenian areas. When the Soviet Union came to Caucasus in 1921, Karabakh was given to Azerbaijan and became a small Armenian enclave inside and called Nagorno-Karabakh Autonomous Oblast. When the Soviet Union collapsed in 1990, Karabakh became a disputed area between Azerbaijan and Karabakhi people just wanted to become independent, be an independent country, and that's why even there was no declaration of war. The fightings between Karabakhis and Azerbaijan started in 1992 and ended in 1994 by signing the ceasefire, which is still continuing to be as it is. Later on, the new boundaries were established, and you can see now on this picture the new boundaries which connects Nagorno-Karabakh with Armenia through Lachin area, which we call Lachin Corridor, and also has a new boundary with Iran in the south. We inside HELO, because HELO Trust is a non-political and non-religious organization, inside HELO the area which is outside of traditional Karabakh, and traditional means Karabakh within the boundaries of Soviet era. We call that areas green zones. You know, there's a lot of colleagues for that areas. Someone says occupied, the other one says liberated. We, being not political organization, we call these areas green zone. Karabakh changed a lot after the war. Now it's 7 regions, and the population is about 150,000. The capital is Stepanakert, a beautiful small town with a lot of greens and very nice buildings, which was rehabilitated after the war. And the symbol of Artsakh is still, and will be, I hope, we on our mountains monument, which is Grandpa, Grandma. You can see that in the pictures, which we love a lot. And actually, that's an old picture. Now, the Grandma and Grandpa monument was rebuilt, renewed, and the area is such a nice area now. They just opened that area like 2-3 weeks ago, which I haven't thought of actually for that. Stepanakert changed a lot. If you've been there recently, you'll probably be surprised. If you've been there afterward, there was nothing around, just ruins, most of the area. But now everything looks very nice. On the top left one, you can see the main square of Stepanakert. Then the next photo show you the new buildings for the residents. And then on the bottom one, that one is a university, and this is a brand new hotel in the middle of Stepanakert. So people more or less recovered from the debris of war, i.e. life getting better. And of course it's going on. You probably heard about the 700 couples married at the same time in Artsakh. That happened in Ganzasar, in Shushi Church. So life continues, and as such, this is a beautiful thing. People continue to live. They come back to the normal life, they marry, they have kids, and they enjoy every day of their life. But still, Karabakh is an agricultural country, and everything people do is connected with the area. You know, Karabakh is famous for their grapes and mulberry, and especially mulberry vodka, which unfortunately they're not exporting much, but they should. So they all know the taste of that, which is great. And people continue to deal with the land. They have some more gardens, or they have the areas which they can cultivate and have some fruits and vegetables. But besides having that next to their house, unfortunately, some of the population in the villages are forced to use the areas which are a bit further from the place where they live to collect wood, because wood is still the main source of heating and cooking in a village. They collect herbs outside in further areas, they go for hunting, and as such, this group of people who goes a bit further from the place where they live, we call them potential risk group people, because these are the people who are in a danger to meet mine or unexploded ordnance and have an accident. Unfortunately, sorry, I pressed not the right button. I'm very sorry for that. Unfortunately, after the war, After 1995 actually, from 1995, we have registered 270 accidents in Nagorno-Karabakh, resulted in more than 350 people injured or died as a result of an accident. 22% out of that accidents were fatalities, unfortunately, and a lot of kids, it's about 70 kids injured or died. On the bottom one, on the left side, you can see the guy, he found the mines. He didn't find the mine, he stepped on the mine, he didn't know about the mine and he lost his leg. Then the next picture next to him is a boy about 13 years old. He found an exploded ordnance and as every curious child, he wanted to disassemble it and he lost his fingers. Then the bottom one on the left is a person who used to be a shepherd, and actually he lives in Armenia, in a border with Nagorno-Karabakh, with Lachin area. And because of the livestock he had to cross the border and keep his livestock in Lachin, but he didn't know there are mines there. He stepped on a mine and lost his leg, and he was lucky he has a mobile phone. It's not funny, but he was lucky because in the area where he was keeping his livestock, there was no one. He gave a call to his nephew who came and picked him up and took to the hospital. And then in the last accident, on this photo is a truck which detonated anti-tank mine. Again, that happened in Lachin last year in December. 3 people were collecting wood in the forest. And as driving through the forest, the truck stuck on a mount, and to help to take it out, 2 of them went out and started to push it from one side, and while pushing, the truck slid to the edge of the road and detonated anti-tank mine. They were lucky they were standing on the other side, because if they were standing on the side of the detonation, no one would find them later. I'm going to show you a small video, after which we'll continue to speak about the problem. But this is a video about 2 people who injured as a result of mine and exploded ordnance accident, and they're just telling their stories.
Arabatı duruşa kapor. Nanat hotarelo, tatar mekanaya beş, ramo timpatetik. Ve o öyle araçı otus kredi, ders otus kredi sağıyla nanem seto, o araçı otus kredi.
Սևակն ապրում է Լեռնային Ղարաբաղի բանջարյուղում։ Իր հասակակիցների նման սիրում է խաղալ, վազել, հեծանիվ քշել։ Սևակն արդեն հարմարվել է ֆիզիկական այս վիճակին, բայց ով գիտի, ինչ է կատարվում երեխայի հոգում։ Նա 10 տարեկան էր, եղբոր ու քրոջ հետ գնացել էին զբոսնելու։
Գնացինք Բոստոն, հետո Գալստոն, Սնարդոն, հետո ես նախվել ենքոր նստանք, ոսկսան կանել, հետո չեմ ուշում նամիջին տարակելան,
Սևակի եղբայրը պայթյունից մահացավ, քույրը ծանր վիրավորվեց։ Եղբոր կորուստն ավելի ծանր տարավ, քան իր հաշմանդամությունը։
Ահնաթորում ուտասել, ապերեց էր ուզում անել, ու հետո բարեցին շատ դժվար էր, ցավում էր ոտքով, շատ է տանդում, բայց ես դեպքում ցավին հաղթին եմ, որպեսի կանություն է բարդին, նստարոց, տան կանություն։
Սևակի ոտքը երկու անգամ վերահատել են, բայց ապարդյուն։ Չնայած ոտքի ցավին, նրա առօրյան հագեցած է։ Ֆուտբոլ խաղանից բացի օգնում է հորը տնտեսության մեջ գերապրում ճալարներին։ Սևակը հույսը չի կորցնում, որ երրորդ վիրահատությունը կօգնի իրեն։
Well, I personally know both of these persons since I've been conducting mine education program in Nagorno-Karabakh in 2003. I've traveled around all the villages, almost all the villages, every corner of Nagorno-Karabakh, and I know personally most of the people who injured from unexploded ordnance or mines. We've seen only 2 stories. I know 350. Karabakh suffers a lot from that, and actually we're having the highest per capita rate in the world. It's because we are too small, we have very small population with very high rate of an accident. Sevak, the guy whom you've seen, he had his third operation on his leg. Now he feels better, but he is disabled. He can't be as the other children now around him, but he found himself, he's now doing carpenting, he's a carpenter. He's working with wood. He looks very happy. He's not remembering the past, he's trying to look into the future. But he lost his brother, and I think that's the saddest thing for him in his life. And not only for him, it's also for people who live around him and have seen what war, which ended 20 years ago, done with him just recently. So Hello Trust working in Nagorno-Karabakh since 2000. Today we have a national staff of 170 people. They all are Armenians, Karabakhis, which Hello trained to demine, and the program is run only by one foreigner who is assigned as a program manager for our headquarters. Depends on the different types of mines and exploded ordnance, and I'll take you through these pictures and explain what kind of mines and exploded ordnance are in Karabakh. We using the different assets to clean. So the big picture in the middle is an anti-tank mine. You can see the picture in the bottom. It's quite a big mine. It's like that, a big plate, metal contaminated. To detonate such kind of mine, it needs a pressure from 150 kilograms, which is in pounds. Yeah, I don't know what it is.
300.
Okay, this is a various calculations. So the pressure has to be from 150. These type of mines, this is all Russian made, which left from the Soviet Union and the area, which was used by both sides, Armenians, Karabaghis and Azeris. So the mines which we are clearing now in Artsakh are not only Azeris mines. It's our mines as well, which were laid during the war. These type of mines were laid in the valleys to protect the tanks to come over into the area. Then the top one is a cluster bomb. It's very small, looks like a tennis ball, silver color, very attractive to kids, and especially for the kids who were born after the war. They know nothing about it. When they see it, they think it's a ball. They pick it up, they drop it, or they hit with a stone or hammer, and that's it. It's very dangerous and kills in a place. The next one after that is another cluster bomb, which we call P-Tau. And these both cluster bombs were dropped from the plane during the war. And if the mines can be found only on a lane of the fightings next to the border with Azerbaijan or Armenia, these cluster bombs can be found everywhere around Nagorno-Karabakh. Because the planes were just dropped these bombs, and this was the area, this contaminated cluster bombs is very wide. The previous case we had, we found this cluster munition, this bomb, on the roof of one of the houses in Stepanakert. To destroy that, because we cannot take it out, to destroy that we had to evacuate people from their houses around to be able to destroy it and not to damage someone. The next one on the third picture, it's an anti-personnel mine, PMN2. And it's a small mine like that. It has a black cross on top, and it works very simple. Just step on that mine and that's it. It's detonate and it's cut a leg and then have a very heavy injuries for another leg. And if there is no first aid, the person can die bleeding. These type of mines were laid widely. And in Karabagh, the problem is some of the areas during the war were captured twice or 3 times. So it was given to Azeris, then it was taken back, and then again given to Azeris, and every time it was going from hand to hand, the mines were laid in the area. So can you imagine how many lines were laid during the war? The other bad thing is that the maps our militaries had were not completed. It's not for all the areas which were mined. Some of them were mined and the maps were drawn, and then there's a lot of area which we didn't have any map because people were just laying that mines. So it's kind of roulette. You never know if there is a mine in an area or not until there is an accident or there is information from someone who knows the area. And again, if the mines were led by Azeris, we will never have maps for that. So the last one, the last item is another mine, which is again anti-personnel mine, very dangerous. So this type of mines can be found in the area in Artsakh. Depends on these different type of mines, Hello is using different assets to clear. I'm not going into techniques of clearing, but just for you to explain, the top left picture is a method which we call the one-man, one-lane procedure. Everyone is asking, Hello is working for 13 years in Artsakh, why there are still mines, why you are not completing your work? This is because the process of mine clearance is very slow. You can see there is one man with a detector who has 1 meter wide lane, which he clears every day, centimeter inch by inch, checking the area for metal contamination. And there is a signal, he has to excavate the area, find an item, be sure that this is some metal piece, it's not a mine, or there is a mine, and this is from day to day, meter by meter. It's a very slow process. Sometimes we're asked why we're not using machines in that areas, like rollers, big rollers which can detonate. The rollers works very perfectly for flat areas, like valleys. But for Nagorno-Karabakh, where there are all mountains, hills, and a lot of stones, believe me, it doesn't work. So to find anti-personnel mines, we use one-man, one-lane procedure. Then to find an anti-tank mine, we use another big detector, and this process is faster than manual mine clearance. The other problem Nagorno-Karabakh has, and this is only Nagorno-Karabakh around the world has this problem, we had plastic anti-tank mines laid during the war. Plastic means there is no metal contamination or very low metal contamination in the mine, which cannot be found with detector. And if that cannot be found with detector, what else we can do? The only way for that is prodding. And you can see that in the picture, left bottom picture. So the man with a stick is just prodding the area to find a plastic mine. And this is a very difficult process. It's a labor work and it takes a lot of time to find that mine. And then the last picture is a mechanized type of mine clearance, and we use this type of mine clearance. We use these armored tractors in the area where there is a bad access or it's a lot of metal contamination in the soil, so the miner is not able to work because of a lot of signals from detector. The cluster bombs are cleared with the same big detector, and you can see in the picture on this one, for example, the deminer found the cluster bomb. We're not taking out all these items from the area where we find them. We just destroy them in place. We're not removing them. We put an explosive at the end of the day and we detonate them in place. So we just destroy them, all these items. To be sure that our kids are away from this danger, we also run mine education program. This is what I've been doing 10 years ago. And this is quite a lot of fun to go around to the schools and having this presentation with kids, which I had one presentation, it wasn't a presentation, it was just a conversation today in this school with one of the class, and kids are always very curious, they ask very interesting questions, but we have to be aware that we need to give them all this information about the present danger. Most of the kids were born after the war and they know nothing about these mines and unexploded ordnance. They hardly remember what happened yesterday, because every day is a new day and they discover a lot of things. And we try to explain them how to be away from this danger. In the case of detection, how to behave with themselves, so they'll not end up in a story like you've seen previously with Sevak, which is really sad. That's an obvious impact of landmines. It's a lot of casualties. But let's have a look on the areas where we can see a bad influence of mines into the economic of Nagorno-Karabakh. This is the area in the south of Nagorno-Karabakh, Fizuli. And you can see ex-vineyard. As coming here to Fresno, I've seen acres of vineyards here. So this one was pretty the same like I've seen today. But it used to be a vineyard during the Soviet time. After the war, this area cannot be used, and is not used until today. It's 20 years past, and cannot be used only because there are mines in that area. As far as your eye can see, believe me, all this vineyard is mined. We cannot go there into that area and demine it, because that area is in a green area zone. And HELO cannot work in a green area today. The main donor we have for today is USAID, United States Agency for International Development. And they are main donor for long years. They're giving HELO money to clear fields in Artsakh, which is great, and we're really thankful for that. But the money which they give, they're very restricted. They say you can use this money for mine clearance only within the boundaries of Karabagh during Soviet era. Do not go out of that boundaries. You're not allowed to clear outside of it. So what about Lachin? What about Karabagh? What about this area in the south of Karabagh? They stay mined and dangerous up to date. And this wide area, which can be used for wheat crop or can be used as a vineyard to produce a wine, it just still stays like that. And it's about 650 acres of the land. If that can be used for vineyard, the income will be $2.5 million in a year. $2.5 million from that area. And now the profit from that area is zero. And it's a big impact on our economics in Karabagh. This is just a map of that area. You can see the green zones are the areas which we cleared previously, but the red ones are the areas which still remain to be cleared. That's the danger areas. And up to date, up to this second, it still stays like that. No one goes there, we can't clear there, people do not go there, they don't use it. The mines and exploded ordnance also have an impact into our monuments and churches. Not a lot of people know that previously Hello cleared the area just next to Ganzasar monastery. You can see Ganzasar picture on the top left photo. Everyone comes to see Ganzasar, but not everyone knew that there was an exploded ordnance just next to Ganzasar monastery, which we cleared 3 years ago. And we found a lot of this type of cluster bombs there. So the mines hinders also our culture zones, so those which are interested for Karabaghis and tourists. There are the damaged mines caused, and especially anti-tank mines. It's the roads. There's a lot of roads between villages which used to be used before the war as a shortcut, sorry, between the villages, but now they cannot be used. And you can see that a lot of accidents happen in that area. For example, the tractor on the top. This tractor belongs to the mine company. It's not a Landmine company, it's a mine company, base metals in Karabagh. And they were trying to widen the area of the road, and they detonated anti-tank mine. And then later we found another one. And you can see the tractor accident and then the truck accident. And that used to be a car for 9 people, and that's in the middle photo. There was 9 people inside when an accident happened. 3 of them died, 3 got injured, 3 were lucky and didn't have any injuries. But not only economic impact, not only that, and not only roads, the mines still have threatened to the day-to-day life of people. Let's go to Lachin area. That's an area where we come from Armenia to Karabagh, and see how people suffer from mines in their day-to-day life. This is just a simple couple from the Lachin region. The village name is Gyud, and it's about 100 people living there, and I believe even less than that. And this couple, Boris and Irina, they moved to that area several years ago, and everything they have is just a small garden in front of their house, where they have some vegetables and fruits and greens. But Boris is a heavy smoker. Because he doesn't have money, he grows tobacco himself next to his house, but he does not have paper to roll his tobacco and smoke, so everyone who comes to visit him brings some newspaper to him, so he can use that. They probably are poorest people I've ever seen, because they have nothing, but they enjoy their life. You can see on the photos they're very happy. And this is actually their house. Well, I can tell you living in the houses. Well, this is not a house, definitely. There's no windows, it's just a plastic on the windows, and there's 2 beds inside and only 1 place where to cook. And their table where they have their dinner and they welcome their guests is outside. And you can see that in the photo, actually. Our program manager is sitting just next to them while serving the area. But it's difficult. Everything they have is a garden and donkey. That's it. But they seem very happy. But it's not the only difficulty they have in their life. It's not a bad house, and it's not only donkey and a small garden. The other bad thing is that their house is just within 100 meters from the anti-personnel minefield. And it's a big, huge minefield, which is just next to their house, which doesn't let them to live normal life, to be safe and to feel themselves safe in this life. Boris takes his donkey every day, it's his transport, goes outside to pick up some herbs or wood, but every time his road goes along the line of the minefield, and you can see that in the photo, That's a minefield which is surrounded by the special signs which we put to protect people to enter the area. But, I mean, that's where he lives. If you ask him, he's okay. He's like, I know this is a minefield, I'll never go there. That's okay. Me and my donkey, we just travel around, but we don't go there. But if you ask him, what do you really think about this minefield? He will say that what I really want to do is to bring water into my house. And the only source of the water for him is a spring, which is right in the middle of the minefield. He cannot bring the water, he cannot probably use that water, or not only to drink, but to have more area for this garden, where he can grow more vegetables and probably gain some more money by selling that, and maybe stop growing tobacco and buy some proper cigarettes. If not, maybe do something else. But what I'm trying to say, he can improve his life, improve it, but he cannot do that. And the simple thing is water, what he needs. And the only spring source is in the minefield. For example, to clear this minefield, Hello will need $40,000 just to put people and equipment and clear that for this family and for the whole village. Another village, which is not far from the village where Boris and Irina lives, is Norashenik village. And it's another village in Lachin, nothing special. But this village has a special family. That's family of Virab, and the Virab has 9 kids. And this is all he has, actually. I think this is what he's been doing for all his life. But they're very nice, and you can see on the photo that red dot. This is a place where their house is. But then the red square means the danger area where unexploded ordnance are. And his house just in the middle of that area. Recently, one of his kids found an exploded ordnance. He was lucky he didn't touch it. They gave us a call, we came and destroyed it. But the last my visit, which was in March this year, we've been fundraising money for this area, especially for this area. We've been asking $11,000 to clear this field. And we had a success. We collected $7,500, and then the rest Hello Trust added on top. So from the 1st of October, our deminers are working on that area. And as end of October, that area around Virab's house will be cleared. Isn't it the good? That's one of our success stories so far here. Which means Virab probably will spend more time with his kids playing outside football. Because it's about 11 people in a house, which is one football team. These 2 maps are showing the problem of Nagorno-Karabakh with mines and exploded ordnance for today. On the left one you can see the map of mines, and on the right side a map of unexploded ordnance. The red dots are minefields which remain to be cleared, and the green ones are cleared already. As you can see, a lot of work was done. Within the traditional Karabagh, i.e. Karabagh with the Soviet boundaries, Hello has done 85% of minefields. We cleared that. And 75% of cluster munition areas. So we have a little more, maybe another 5 years, with a continuous donation from USAID to clear traditional Karabagh. But what about the green areas? What about the areas like Lachin, Karabagh, and south of Karabagh? People still live there. We don't want people to move. It's a model movement. People are trying to find better life. No one can blame them for that. And if they live 20 years after the war, they live with mines and exploded ordnance in the area, and they want to move, who can tell them no, do not do that? Who can tell them stay here and protect your land? Who can say this is your homeland and you have to live here while there is a danger? People can deal with everything. You know that better than me. They can work with the land, they can protect themselves, they can grow their kids. Everything can come to the better life. But if there are mines in the ground, it will never happen. If there are unexploded ordnance in the ground, if there is a danger for the children, for the future generation, what kind of life that can be? There will not be life there. And I believe people will not stay there. No one can live with mines, and no one can live with this danger. So we really need a help for that areas. This is a big problem for Artsakh, this is a big problem for Hello. Our aim is to clear Artsakh completely from all the mines they have, all the mines we have. And to achieve that, we really need support, especially for green areas, for these zones. We have to save Lachin. We need that. We have to clear it. And we have many success stories like this one. The owner of this land, he couldn't use this land. Now, thanks to Hello, he can grow corn and support his family, which is great. Or another success story, there was an orchard, and there is an orchard, mulberry orchard next to Amaras monastery. You probably know about Amaras. It was heavily mined, and Hello cleared all that orchard. And now all the people from the village are very happy. And you know, guess why? They can collect mulberry and produce a lot of vodka. And tutti arach, rachats normal, bokchevi sardu raka, arten karol genakt teovisaking. Isn't it great? Sure, and then people can be saved. I mean, it's a lot of tourists who come to see Amaras, and this area is cleared. So there is a lot of success stories, and it's good because it means life can continue. People can stay and use their area. So the goal is within our reach. We can do that. We believe into that, and we will continue to do that. I think that's all from me.